Okay, I think we can probably go ahead and get started. This is Carol Crone from the STS National Database. I'm the Senior Clinical Manager over the databases. This is the December webinar for the Adult Cardiac Surgical Database. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. And we're going to get started here. Just a quick run through of the agendas, just welcome and introductions. I'll be hosting along with Melanie Bent from IQBIA, and we'll go through some housekeeping and the IQBIA update, some resources, and Q&A. On the STS side, just a quick update about the version 4.20 data collection form update. We are working with IQVIA to finalize the data specifications for that. We hope to have that done late December, early January to get sent out to the vendors to build. AQO post-meeting news, I just want to, towards the end of this presentation, after we're all done, when we get towards the section where we answer questions, before we start answering questions, I will do a quick run through of where you can find the presentation slides along with all of the questions and answers that were submitted in the app that we used during the AQO meeting. And those are all posted online on the STS website, and I'll be happy to run through and show you where to find those. And then the December webinar training manual has been posted. It was I believe if it hasn't been posted, it should be up either today or tomorrow. It's sent over to our marketing team to have them posted up on the website, so that should be soon. And now I'm going to hand it over to Melanie Bent from IQVIA. Melanie?
Thanks, Carol. Hello, everyone. So from the IQVIA side, we have been actively developing the various pieces that I'll highlight through these upcoming slides. But we're actively getting ready for our launch that's scheduled for January. Our key areas of development for the adult cardiac is that we're going to be doing a data migration, and the data migration is focused on 2 versions of historical data. So those specific versions are version 2.9 and version 2.81. So that will be available once we launch for you to be able to see within the available reports. Okay, next slide. The next area where we're focusing on having available is the uploader functionality. The uploader is going to allow you to upload your files from your software vendor. So once you export that file from your vendor software, you will be able to upload those files within the IQVIA platform. Once you upload, we have what we call near real time, where you're able to see information on the dashboard, and I'll get to that. But what will be real time is going to be the data quality report, where we will display what you're probably familiar with, hearing edits and checks. We will have those edits and checks available within that automatic report that you'll see after the upload. And we're following those same rules that you're familiar with when processing those files with DCRI. You will have the ability to export that information also from that DQR report. So we do have export capability if you wanted to export that to Excel and then use that as a guide as you go back into the vendor software. And if you needed to make any updates to your data, you would do that within your software vendor system. But you can export the actual report and use that for reference. Okay, next slide. Another area of development is reports. So talked a little bit about the data quality report that will be available after you upload. And another report that will that you will have the ability to go and review your data is called the missing variable report. So you'll be able to see the thresholds in regards to the percent missing of the different variables within an identified harvest period. So you're able to see basically the information that you've uploaded and of course information that has been migrated. Based on the time frame, you're able to run that report and you're able to see the percent missing for identified variables. And another report that will be available is the adult cardiac participant dashboard report. So I have a screenshot of that. I'll show you what that will look like. But that dashboard report will allow you to view the data that you have uploaded, and that's where we're calling the near real-time update. So when you upload your files, you'll be able to possibly within a couple of hours or within the next morning, that information will be updated and you're able to view that information on the dashboard. Another area that we've been actively engaged with STS is conducting user acceptance testing. We've completed 2 successful iterations of UAT, and today I believe we're wrapping up our last round in regards to UAT 2. We will have an additional UAT session that's coming up, but with those previous iterations, we have been able to get great feedback and been able to work with users in just getting their feedback and just making sure that the process of uploading, for example, is working as expected. And I do have a little bit more updates in regards to UAT towards the end, so I'll share that also. Next slide. So what's to come? We have more information to share with you all that will be available on the STS website. We do plan on having videos, how-to videos available for reference to basically get you prepared and make sure that you're aware of the workflow and how to interact within the system once you log in. So we will have videos that's going to cover information such as general IQBIA just functionality once you're in the application, and then the uploader functionality, walking you through how the actual process works. I do have a couple of screenshots that I'll share with you all, but these videos will walk you through the actual workflow and how it will, how you'll interact with the system. And then with the uploader functionality, once that is completed, you will have the ability to see the data quality report. And in addition to having that report, we do have errors, warnings that will display on the report. We will have an additional guide that's going to be posted within the library, and I'll point that out. I have a screenshot of that, where you will have a general guide of all of the errors so that you're able to reference. So we want to make sure that you have enough information available within the platform and also on the STS website for you all to be able to reference. We'll also have a video that will go over the missing variable report and also the adult cardiac participant dashboard report. So we will make sure that all of that information is available for reference for you. Okay, next slide. And this slide is just basically a high level just workflow in regards to your day-to-day in regards to interacting with the system. I think, Carol, you may need to click one more or twice, yeah, so that it has this interactive piece to it. So we'll just click through. And so this is just to show you just how the information will flow. So we have one area where you'll see participants, hospitals, which then is entering in the data into the vendor software. That information is then exported, and then an upload activity would happen at the IQBIA point. And then from there, you'll be able to view the information on the dashboard that we'll have available and print information from the dashboard if needed. There's different capabilities there in regards to the graphs that will be available, and also we'll have a tabular graph portion within there where you're able to export all of that information and print that either through using, you can print to PDF or you can export to Excel. So all of that information will be available for you. And then, of course, we talked about the DQR and then the missing variable report. You'll be able to see that information and then determine if you need to make any additional edits within your software vendor, and then, of course, resubmit to IQVIA to update that information. Okay, next slide. So this is just a walkthrough, just through screenshots at the moment. Again, we'll have videos that'll walk you through, but I just wanted to show you the interface and what it's going to look like. Once we have finished our migration efforts and user creation, we will be making sure that we communicate when you will be receiving those usernames and passwords. So more information to come. That information will be communicated on the timing of when usernames and passwords will be issued. So once that is issued, you will receive an email with a username and a separate email for your password. There also will be a link that will navigate you to a site that will look like this. And this is where you will enter in your username and the temporary password that you'll be issued. After you log in, you will be prompted to change the password. So just make sure that once you go through that step, it'll walk you through making sure that you change that password immediately. So let's go ahead and let's go to the next slide. So once you're logged in successfully, you will see a left-hand panel, that black panel, where you're going to have different options. So you'll see that there is a first option, which is upload, and I'll come back to that. That is where you will initially land, and that's basically the functionality that will allow you to upload your files. But I wanted to point out this menu option, which is the notifications. The notifications is an area where you want to make sure you pay attention to. You will have a notification icon that will show right next to that menu name. So where it says notifications in that panel, you'll see where it will have a number icon so that it basically alerts you to know that there are messages posted. And this is where you will have important information from STS in regards to anything that's happening within the application or just general information that they would like for you to know once you're in the application. Another area that we'll take a look at that I wanted to point out is going to be the library. So let's go to the next slide. The library section is where we're going to have links available. And the links can be areas where it will navigate you to an actual website. What I have now listed on this screenshot is the URL navigation link that will take you to the STS Adult Cardiac Data Collection resource page. So it will just automatically navigate you to that page. It'll open up a separate tab for that and then bring you to that landing page. Another thing that we had posted in here, and this is just for an example, is if we wanted to post the actual training manuals, we could have that here. But I think because everything is kept current on the website, most likely you will see that the link for the website is going to be what's going to be posted here. But other resources such as the error log that I told you about, that error document that will basically give you guidance on messages that will show up in the data quality report, we would have that posted in the library. So anything that we want to make sure that you have easy access to, we would post it in the library. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So moving to the uploader interface. So I showed you earlier where there's a menu option for upload. And by default, when you log in, you'll be brought to that menu option. And this is the page. It's a similar page to what you're seeing here, where you would go ahead and upload your file. You'll notice that we have an option where you can drag and drop the file. So if you have the file on your desktop or anywhere where you can get to it, you can actually do a drag and drop on this interface. If you would like to choose, oh, looks like someone's stuck on the screen. Okay, well, hopefully it'll catch up. But right now, everyone should be seeing the uploader interface. Hopefully everybody is seeing that. So the other option outside of the drag and drop is to choose a file from your computer. So this interface is similar to what you're probably familiar with. You would select choose file, and then it's just going to bring up the option to browse and locate that file. And so you could go ahead and upload using that option. It will go through the process of validating the actual file. So let's go to the next slide. And in the file validation step, it is actually going to look and make sure that the file it has the correct structure. So for this example, you'll see that the message that pops up, it says this registry only accepts DAT files or DAT files. So for this example, what I did was I uploaded a file that was a CSV. And so I automatically got this message. So there are specific things that will be reviewed at the file validation level, and the system will automatically let you know whether or not the file can be accepted. So there are other error messages that can appear during this step. And again, that is another list that we will provide of expected messages at the file validation level, so that you have that awareness of different things that can occur at this part of the validation process. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Once a file is uploaded, you're going to get these individual cards within the application on the same window. So once it uploads, you will receive a message automatically for that uploaded file. So I took a snapshot. I did 3 different examples here. The first one, if you take a look, that has the red X next to it, that actually is a file validation error. And so what we just saw in that previous slide where it said it only accepted the DAT file, this is where if you ran into that error, basically it stops you, and then you will get this type of entry within the application. So you also notice within the file name, it does have .csv. So that was the reason why for the failure. And then you'll notice that there are other cards that are below, and those have a green check mark. So basically those did upload successfully, and we would then be able to take a look to see what warnings are available. And this is where we would take a look at our data quality report. You'll notice on this card, it has a link that says view reports. That's how you would navigate to your data quality report. And if you notice, if you take a look at the last entry, which is upload ID 1, you'll notice that there are icons. Again, we'll provide information in regards to what these icons mean, so that you're able to go back and reference. But basically, when you see a circle with a X, it's a critical error, meaning that key piece of information is missing, it's needed, and then you'll notice that there is a orange X. That's usually a warning. And then you have another, like a yield sign to say, it's an optional field, but we want to let you know. So again, it's interactive in the sense that it's going to give you that real-time feedback. And then to go into the report, you would just select the link and it would open up to the data quality report. So let's go ahead and let's navigate to the next slide. Here's a sample of what the report would look like. So in this example, you'll see that there's different quadrants, and you'll see on the first quadrant, that first box on the left, it's called file-based issue. So if there was an issue with the file itself, so with the example that I gave you earlier, that the file type was incorrect, you would see messages related to the file errors. So that information would be listed in that first box. In the middle, where it says validation alert summary, you'll have a pie chart. And this pie chart is interactive. You're able to select on the different types of either if it's a warning, or if it's an error, or if it's a critical, because you could potentially have those 3 options. You can select that portion of the pie, and then on the very last section where it says alerts by uploaded records, it actually would filter the list, and it would only show, in this instance, we're selected on warning. It would show all of the warnings. And then you'll notice that each record is listed individually. And on that record, let's just say record ID 1, you have the column for error. Once you select that actual number for error, it's interactive. It's actually going to then drill down, and you'll notice at the very bottom of the report, you have record level validation. And that is going to give you the list of errors that are related to that patient record. And in here, of course, it'll give you the validation status, the error type, and then the message. So again, going back to the list of messages that potentially would be listed here, we will have that document and have that posted in the library so you have reference. But these are basically self-explanatory in the sense that it tells you exactly what it's looking for. So you're able to review that there. And then you'll notice in the access case column, that's where you will have the ability to select that URL and open the case form in read-only access. So you can go in and you can view and you can see the information within that patient record that's been populated. And you're able to review the fields that are in question. So just wanted to, and again, when we have the how-to, then we'll go through and you can see how we can export this information, because you can export the information either to PDF, like I said earlier, or to Excel. But when we have the how-to videos, we'll walk you through how that's done. Okay, next slide. And here's a sample of the participant dashboard. So this is the dashboard that is going to be updated near real time with the information that you upload into the system. It'll be broken down where you're able to go in and put in a harvest reporting period, and you're able to view information, or if you wanted to put in a specific date range, you will be able to do that also. On the dashboard, you'll have the ability to go in and also filter the cases by procedures. So you'll see that as an option. And then the dashboard is broken down into individual reports. So in the section where it says select report, it basically follows the case form. So each identified section within the case form, you'll be able to select that section and then view the information on that related report. And you'll be able to see comparisons, the graphs that are available. The cool thing about working on the dashboard is that it's interactive. You're able to, let's just say, on the graphs, you're able to drill down only on your MySite data. So if you were to select on the graph and let's just say for the example that we have is race documented, if you were to select the MySite data, it will filter the list by the cases that fall into that actual that listing. So that percentage that shows there, you're able to drill down and see what patient population makes up that percentage. So interactive, and you're able to, again, see that information near real time. So wanted to call that out. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So we talked a little bit about the UAT, and I just wanted to call out a couple of highlights from the UAT. We were able to complete 2 successful iterations of UAT, and we're actually wrapping up another session, I believe, as of today. We had a total of 11 data managers and several staff members that were able to participate and provide feedback. Overall, the process was very smooth. We did have some reports in regards to logins and some just reporting, being able to see reports. And I think that was a combination of with the browsers, but we were able to either email and get a quick resolution, or we even had calls to make sure that we were able to get all information that was being captured and make sure that we can get it addressed quickly. The UAT allowed, of course, users to get an early sneak peek of the application and go in and actually just walk through the steps of what they would be doing once we launched. They primarily worked on uploading files and making sure that they were able to do that process smoothly, and then also interact with seeing the information that was uploaded, seeing that data populate in the data quality report. So that is the last piece that I think I have, but that is the latest in regards to UAT. So yeah, lots of progress there. So Carol,
all right, great. Thank you. Thanks, Melanie. Great presentation. So I'm just going to talk for a few seconds here. 2020 harvest schedule will be posted online within the next week or so. Here's a quick preview of it. The harvest window ends March 14th for Harvest 1 2020. That includes your data through December 31st, 2019. There will not be a downtime, so you'll be able to continuously submit your data after the 14th. That data will then be used in the next harvest, Harvest 2 2020. When you submit your data, the data that's submitted by February 14th, there will be a stop time on that data, and all of that data from February 14th and prior will be submitted over into to DCRI for the analytics. Opt-out for the Harvest 1 2020 is February 18th, and you can expect the report sort of the same timeline as we've had in the past, and your harvest window dates are all pretty similar for the according to the past. This reporting period, this means that this is the data January 1st, 2017 through 12/31. This is the data that you will see in your report. When we get into Harvest 2, you will see columns that will include data from 2018 through the first quarter of 2020, and then it continues on like that for data that's entered into 2020. And then the next slide I have is the information that you need. You need to make sure that you work with your IT departments to whitelist the sites that are listed here. This was discussed on the previous webinars. The first one is the IQBIA.com. This website will go live in will go live in early January, but it is the email that you will be receiving your usernames and passwords from. The STSDB at sts.org and the STS headquarters at sts.org are emails that we use here at STS to send communications usually to the primary and backup and billing contacts, so you'll want to make sure you have those whitelisted. The domain's sts.org. And then Click Dimensions is a third-party vendor that we use sometimes to send out communications from STS, so you'll want to have your IT department also whitelist mail.clickdimensions.com. And then here's my name and information. Before we get to the questions and answers, we have 44 waiting for us so far, so please use the Q&A to submit your questions. We'll go through them. If we haven't already answered them, then we'll answer them online. But I did want to show two screens here for the STS website. The first one is where you'll find the information that was presented at AQO. Everybody has access to it. It's the slide presentations along with all of the questions that were asked in the app. And you'll go here to, to meetings, past courses, and it's the 2019 Advances in Quality and Outcomes of Data Managers meeting. You'll scroll down here and you'll be able to see the past presentations. And then you could pull up any of the presentations that were done along with the Q&A that was asked. So all of the questions that were asked during the meeting were answered, which I think is better than we've done in the past, and hopefully that's helpful to everybody. So you'll be able to find that there. Now for the past webinars, you want to go to the Registries and Research Center, the STS National Database, and then you'll click on this STS National Database webinar page. You'll find information for upcoming webinars along with the past webinars, the link to the YouTube webinar along with a PDF of the slides. And if we didn't get to your questions, we posted the Q&A from each, the questions that we didn't answer. So there's some information on that for you. Hopefully that's helpful. This recording will be posted probably within the next 5 days onto this website, so you'll see past ACSD webinars with November 4th, 2019 listed here, the webinar, the PDF, and if we have leftover questions, those will be posted there as well. So I'm going to go back here to the, sorry for the scrolling, I'm going to go back here to the resource slide. If you need to get a hold of me, here's my information with my phone number, my email address. General questions about IQVIA can be submitted to the STSDB at sts.org. And then please submit your questions in the Q&A. I'm getting ready to answer them. And thanks for joining. Our slides will be posted. The next webinar will be January 3rd at 2 p.m. We are trying to have these on the first Wednesday of the month at 2 p.m., but because the first Wednesday is January 1st in January, we moved this to Friday at 2 p.m. Fridays aren't always a great day for webinars, but they will be recorded, so if you're able to watch it, please do. And then I hope you have a wonderful and peaceful holiday season. I'm going to go back here to my information, and we're going to start answering questions. Melanie, if you're ready.
Ready.
Let's see. Here we go. Do we have to upload our old data? The answer to that question, and Melanie, correct me if I'm wrong, the answer to that question is we will send all of your old data over from DCRI to IQVIA. The last 6 years or 2 versions will be available for the dashboard reporting. Older data, greater than 2 versions, will be available, but it will take time. If you need to request that data, it will take time for us to pull it up. And Melanie, did you have anything to add to that?
Nope, that is correct. So two previous versions is what we will be migrating into the IQVIA platform.
Okay, great. Next question, will the emails about the data submission DQR's availability that we currently receive stop with the IQVIA migration? And I think you had answered this, Melanie, with the data quality reports are almost simultaneously posted. There might be a little bit of lag time, but you'll find all of that, all of the notification about the DQR in your when you log into the IQVIA website.
Yep. So once you log in and once you upload, you will, and the upload is successful, you will have an automatic link available within those cards that I showed earlier. You'll have a link that says View Report, so you'll be able to access the report right then and there.
Great, thank you. Next question. If I had 2 different vendors for version 2.81, will I be able to send both vendor information so that Data Warehouse has all of my hospital's version 2.81 data? So that's a great question. Your version 2.81 data will be coming to IQVIA from DCRI, so you shouldn't need to upload all of that data. Did you have anything to add, Melanie, or did I get that one?
That's it. You hit it.
Okay.
Right out the park.
Good. So do you have a date that the uploader functionality will be available?
So it will be available. Yep, that's for launch. So that is immediate, and that is January. So we will have that. That is going to be, that's the main functionality that you'll have once you log in.
Right. So and that we're planning for that to be available very early January. If not January 1st, it'll be very early January. We're aiming for January 1st.
Correct.
God willing. Next question. Explain what user acceptance testing is. User acceptance testing is, we had sites who had volunteered from our previous webinars that they volunteered to test out the uploader functionality with kind of dummy data, if you will, the de-identified data to make sure that they were able to upload and the functionality was working as expected.
Correct.
Thank you. What is the deadline for downloading the prior STS National reports from DCRI? So your Harvest 4 report, which is data through September 30th, will be posted to your DCRI portal. That report typically comes out in January. DCRI will be leaving the portal open through March 31st. You need to download all of your reports before that portal closes. So the sooner you're able to download those reports, the better. I suggest having them downloaded no later than the early part of March. So you don't have any issues with the rest of March. And if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to the DCRI team, and they'll help you with getting access to your reports. Next question. Will we still need a software such as Apollo or Qcentric to enter in our data, or can we enter it into IQVIA? Direct data submission to IQVIA is a feature that is coming. It will not be part of Go Live on January 1st. That's something that will probably go live with the version upgrade in early July. And more information on that direct data entry will be coming in the early part of 2020. So for the Go Live, January 1st Go Live, you will still need your third-party vendor. Will there be a written manual?
There will be a product manual, and that will be posted in the library.
Great, thank you. When will IQVIA training be available?
We will have it available before, we're hoping to have those videos available this month. So it will, we will have it available so it can be reviewed prior to going live. So right now, I don't have a specific date, but definitely before we are live.
Great. And we will have a separate section on the STS National Database page for all of the training from IQVIA, including some important information that you're seeing here. So you'll have access to that. That page has not been created yet. We're working with our marketing team here at STS to create that page, and we will send out notification to all primary and backup data contacts when that page is ready for you all to view it. Next question. When you say you can upload to IQVIA, does that mean you can upload data elements into the fields like you can for the stroke registry? So the answer to that question is no. When you're uploading to IQVIA, that's your file that you currently use for submission, for your harvest submission. If you need to make changes to any of your data collection forms for any of your patients, you will still need to do that in your third-party vendor software and re-upload a file to IQVIA that contains those changes. We did this one. Okay, next question. Will we be able to upload the data more than once without creating duplicate patients, or do we need to fix issues in both our vendor software and IQVIA? I think I just kind of answered half of that question, but I'll let you take the first half, Melanie.
The first half, we will have a duplicate checking at the time of upload. So if you're uploading a file or a patient, and so you've already uploaded the file and then you have to come back to do any kind of updates, we will take the updates. It's not going to, it will have a duplicate check on at the time of file uploading.
Great, thank you. Next question. Will this username and password come from the STS? So the username and password will be coming from IQVIA. They will be the ones providing that information to you. Next question. I support multiple hospitals. Will I be able to have one username password for all the hospitals? Melanie, did you want to answer that one?
Yeah, so it's within, so the context in regards to, do those hospitals belong to different participant groups? I guess I need a little clarity. So if you belong to a participant that has multiple hospitals within, then you would have one login to that participant group. I guess, does that make sense? But if you have access to more than one participant, then it's, again, still one login, and you would see the available participant groups that you're associated with. Hopefully I didn't muddy that up.
No, I think you got that. Sounds right to me. So a participant group can be a group that works at multiple hospitals and they report just as that participant group. Mm-hmm. Or it can be, you could have a hospital group which each hospital reports individually.
Right.
So, okay. Next question is, who assigns those for my institution and how do they do that? So I'm assuming who assigns the roles for your institution. And if I don't understand your question, Deborah, please resubmit it. But who assigns those roles for your institution is usually your primary data contact who will go in and update your participant contact form. However, that form can also be updated by your backup data contact, and that's who would assign those roles. Okay, next question. I was part of the testing and got a username and password. Will I use them at Go Live or will I get different ones?
You're going to receive different ones. That was specifically for a test environment. So, and if you noticed, even on that username, it has underscore, your first initial last name underscore UAT. So you know that that is a test ID. So you'll be receiving it new for the production environment. Great.
Next question for the file upload. What do I do if you use a third-party vendor. You will continue with your third-party vendor the same way. You're just going to upload that file that you now pull down from your vendor software. Instead of uploading it to the DCRI portal, you'll upload it to the IQVIA portal where Melanie had shown it on the slide. If you submit data for multiple participant IDs, so we answered, will you need multiple usernames and passwords, or will your username and password be linked to all participant IDs? You will need multiple participant IDs, passwords for multiple participants.
We can link. It'll be one.
Oh, you can.
Yes.
Sorry.
So one username, and then we would link you to each respective participant ID that you would work in. So it's one username, and then they would have the option to select which participant they're going to work in. There'll be an interface that gives you the list of the participants that you have access to.
See, I'm learning something too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Melanie.
Okay, so hopefully it's clear with the other person that asked you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question. How long before you have the, we'll post the 2020 harvest deadlines coming up here in the next week or so, and the deadlines will stay the same, pretty close to the same as they have been in the past. Currently, when uploading a submission file, we enter the PID, the date range, and number of records. Will this still be required? Currently, Melanie, when they enter a file into the DCRI portal, the DCRI portal asks them to enter their PID number, the date range that the file contains, and the number of records contained in that file. Okay.
That won't be required.
Thank you. Next question, is there any additional cost to use the new data registry through STS if we already pay for the STS but currently use a third-party vendor? So you'll still stick with your third-party vendor at least until July, when we will have the direct data entry. At that time, if you wish to use the direct data entry into the IQVIA platform, there is no additional cost to do that. You would no longer need your third-party vendor. However, the reporting options within IQVIA will not be available as you have, or the customized fields will not be available through the IQVIA platform. And there's a question here that's a clinical, I think it's regarding the 90-day chart review for the deep sternal wound infection. That this is kind of off subject, but yes, you will, and we'll get more into this when we go over the upgrade in more detail for the version 4.20, which goes live July 1st. But we are changing the deep sternal wound infections. You will need to review those charts out through 90 days, and that's to align with the CDC definition of DSWIs. Next question, will there still be V numbers on the DQR?
Yes, there will be. The column, the screenshot that I have, of course, didn't represent that, but we will have the V number displaying so that you're able to reference that back in your software vendor system.
Great, thank you. Next question about making changes from within, I'm assuming from within the data quality report, or do you have to exit and re-enter the record? So if you need to make a change to your record, you'll still need to go into your vendor software, make the update, and then reload the file to IQVIA. That's for the go live if you are using a third-party vendor, or for the go live and if you continue using a third-party vendor after July 1st. Next question. Will you be able to download all of the errors or warnings in one spreadsheet, or will you have to do it by individual case?
I need to double check that. The testing that I've been doing, it's been by the individual record when I pulled it. So let's flag that one as a follow-up, Carol, because I'm not 100% sure, but I'll confirm.
Okay, great, thank you. Next question, is patient ID and record ID the same? No, the patient ID is usually the MRN number that's assigned at your site. The record ID is randomly assigned through the vendor software. Next question, do I recall that only one person per site will have access to the dashboard? Currently, only one person per the primary data contact and all of the surgeons have access to the dashboard for adult cardiac. With IQVIA, you will assign those roles, and more than one person besides the surgeons, will be able to have access at your site. So if all of the backup and primary data contacts will have access to the dashboard. Next question, will we be able to drill down by individual surgeons in the dashboard? And I don't know that we're going to have to be able to filter down by NPI. Has that been decided, or is that something in the future, Melanie?
That one is in the future, not for launch, but it's definitely on the list.
Right. Okay, so right now we're able to filter by NPI, surgeon level NPI in the adult cardiac dashboard. That feature will not be available with the Go Live launch, but it is something that's coming as the phased rollout approach. So sometime in 2020, that will be something that is available to do. We use a vendor to submit our STS data. How will the change to IQVIA affect that process? You will continue to submit your data using your third-party vendor. Did you test file uploading from each vendor?
We have had, I think as of yesterday, about, we were provided with 5 vendor files from vendors, but we have received a download from DCRI with different vendors and are in the process of going through testing for those. But we're working with the vendors directly, you know, via STS. I believe we got some files yesterday, and then of course files from DCRI.
Great, thank you. And then a couple questions here about the deadline for Harvest 1 2020. So Harvest 1 2020 will open January, early part of January. We're aiming for January 1st. Early part of January with IQVIA. You will submit your data to IQVIA, not to DCRI. It's not on February 14th. You need to submit your data as, you can start as soon as the portal opens to do so. And then the deadline is in February. It has always been in February, either the 2nd or 3rd week. And the reason why we have it, in February is to be able to submit that data over to MIPS for MIPS reporting. So I think we've always done the 2nd or 3rd week in February for that. And if I missed any part of your questions, please submit them and we'll get to them. When is the updated data collection form going to be live? It should be, I hope to post it in the next couple weeks. I just wanted to make sure as IQVIA was building the form that there weren't any issues that they were seeing or any changes that needed to be made. Right now it's looking good, and I think we're up to almost section M with IQVIA building it, so we should be getting it posted rather shortly here. Next question, is there a word on compatibility with web browsers? I use IQVIA platform for GWTG CAD registry, and that is not compatible with Chrome, which is my preferred browser. So I think we had a list of those browsers. Is that right, Melanie, in the previous webinars?
Yes, and we have a fact sheet that lists all of the supported browsers. And she's saying that it's not compatible with Chrome. That's my preferred browser too. I use Chrome. So.
Hey, Melanie, it's Pamela. I have that list in front of me. Would you like for me to put it in the answer in the Q&A?
Sure, go ahead and add.
Yeah.
Go ahead and add that.
I'll do that right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question, will there be a case number requirement for data submission? Currently, there need to be at least 10 in the data period. So that requirement stays the same. That's for the cabbage. You need at least 10 to be included for the cabbage, and then there's different requirements for the valves, and those requirements stay the same. That's so you can be included in the risk analysis. That's the number of cases determined that's needed to ensure that we're able to run risk analysis appropriately on your cases. Next question, when will be receiving access to IQVIA? And that should be pretty soon here. There's a couple steps that need to take place, including migrating all of our participant information over to IQVIA. And once that step is done, then IQVIA will be able to send out username and passwords. Melanie, did you have more of a timeline on that, or
Yeah, once we're able to get everything set up, usernames created, it is going to be an automated process once we get to that point. So again, early January, but we will have communication sent out ahead of time to let you know specific timing so that you can be on the lookout of when those emails are going to be generated.
Great, thank you. And this is a follow-up question. It says, to further explain, the dashboard report you showed in the presentation had patient ID, but the other reports previously shown for errors and checks had record ID. So I think she's asking, is it going to show record ID and patient ID, or are we just going to be record ID?
Well, and unfortunately with the mock-up, it's not true to what we are currently working on in regards to those columns. So a part of the requirement, it was to show both the record ID and the patient ID. So you'll see two different columns, additional columns on that data quality report, and both would reflect the V numbers.
Thank you. Next question, how customizable will the dashboard be, and what types of support will be available to users with little to no dashboard experience?
Well, the dashboard is going to be set. It's already been defined by STS, so there's no customization that happens on the dashboard. And when we have the how-to videos, basically we'll walk through in regards to how to interact with the dashboard. It's very intuitive. It just presents the information in regards to the counts and the total case counts, the percentages. Like I said, you're able to interact with the graph. So all of those steps in regards to how to view the data, export the data, we'll make sure that that's available in the how-to video.
That's great, and I think this is kind of a follow-up question, is may we have a run-through of the different tabs in the dashboard, and are there options in the dashboard to view the metrics that are compiled in the star ratings? It sounds like the different tabs in the dashboard is what Melanie will be running through, and the team at IQBIA will be running through on the how-to videos. And I'm not sure how we flagged the risk model variables, if we flagged those separately, or if that's another page that we're going to build later on for all of the risk model variables and the endpoints for the star ratings.
Right, I think that would be separate. Right now, it's just based on the identified variables that we have for phase one. I think there was another, we'll go through another iteration to update and show just the variables that would be associated with the risk models. So we will definitely make sure that, again, we'll communicate as we are updating, that information is also going to be provided in regards to what's coming. But as for phase one, I don't think we have that as phase one.
Wonderful. We have about 5 minutes left, and Melanie, if possible, are you able to stay on until about 3:15 for another 20 minutes, and we'll see how many more questions we can get through. We have 35 right now remaining in the queue, and we'll go as fast as we possibly can. Can we upload data prior to version 2.81?
No, we are only 2 versions back. Mm-hmm.
Yep, the 2 versions back. You'll need to get any of that data should have already been entered, and we know sites make changes, but IQBIA will not support any versions prior to version 2.81. Next question, will CHSD be continuous harvest as well? Yes, all of the databases, adult cardiac, general thoracic, and congenital will be continuous submission. How do I get on the emailing list? I do not get the emails. If you are a primary or backup data contact for the database, you should be getting the emails. If not, I would check your spam folder, or I would also check with your IT team to make sure that you have the websites whitelisted, and I just put those up there on the screen. If you, again, if you have those whitelisted, you're still not getting them, check your spam. They're also posted, the information for the webinars and upcoming webinars are posted on the STS website. Will we continue to use our current participant ID, or will a new one be issued? Your current participant ID will remain the same. A new one will not be issued. On the last call, there was a document that we could send to our IT support, but I don't see it listed on the website. Do we have to request it from IQVIA? If you're referring to the dossier document, you can send your email into stsdb@sts.org and request a copy of that form, and we'll be happy to send it over to you. Can you review how to get to the past webinars for the transition to IQVIA? So that's on the STS website. Let me see here. That's on the STS website. You go to Research and Registries and Research, STS National Database, and then there's a link here that says STS National Database Webinars, and you'll be able to find the past webinars and upcoming current webinars. Next question, when should we expect the emails and passwords? And they should be coming out in the next couple weeks as we get that transition with the participant information sent over. When will we receive a final report for calendar year 2019 from the STS? So calendar year data, that report harvest closes on February 14th. That report usually comes out the end of April. Will the general thoracic deadline be the same as adult cardiac, February 14th? And for this harvest, yes, the general thoracic is the same, and we will be posting those updated harvest schedules in the next week for all of the databases. What kind of graphs charts will be available with the IQVIA reports? Will they look similar to the current graphs and charts that we see on the national report from DCRI? Melanie, did you want to take that one?
Yes. So the graphs, so similar to what I showed you on the screen capture where it's a horizontal bar chart. So we have identified specific variables where we'll be showcasing as graphs, and that will be at the top portion of the dashboard.
Great, thank you. Next question. In July 2020, are you saying that IQVIA will take the place of our third-party vendor software such as Apollo or Qcentric? No, IQVIA will not take the place of your third-party software. Your vendors are not going away. You will have an option to use direct data entry through IQVIA without using a third-party vendor. With that comes some limitations with customizable reports and adding customized fields into your data collection form. Next question, if I already submit CATH PCI to IQVIA, will my access and password be different or the same?
It will be different.
Next question, what is the timeline for updating the contacts? So you should be updating them, you can update them now. I would suggest having them updated probably within the next week or so to make sure that they're correct. Hopefully we have all of your correct information and that we're emailing the correct people now as it stands. And again, there's no fee if you decide to go with IQBIA as your data entry system come July. There will be no fee with that. Will we still be able to opt out if we don't want our data included for the submission? Melanie, did you want to take that one? Because I know we had a pretty long discussion about opting out this morning.
Yes, there is still an opportunity to opt out if you do not want to submit your data for analysis.
Great, thank you. Next question. Just to be clear, will we continue to harvest with DCRI until the end of the year? Any new harvest will go through IQVIA after the first of the year, correct? So the adult cardiac database harvest has been closed since November 22nd. It will not reopen until January, and at that time you will submit through IQVIA. Will PHI information be required to send, or will we still have the ability to exclude PHI data? PHI is not required. You will, I believe we still need to have the patient's birth date or age and sex, gender, to do the risk calculations. But if you're excluding PHI and you're still receiving reports now, that PHI does not need to be included. Somebody says they're very confused. Please reach out to me. My email is on the website here, and I'll be happy to answer your questions and get you on board with what's going on. I suggest watching the other webinars first. and then let me know what's causing you issues, and be happy to work with you through that. Will our previous participant contact roles continue, or do we need to add this again for all of our users? So, Melanie, I believe if this is correct, that the roles will just transfer over to IQBIA terminology, if you will, so where the roles, as in our previous webinar, the one that was just from November, we went through those roles and how they the crosswalk to those roles, the current contact roles, and the roles through IQVIA, how they line up in the terminology, and what type of access each participant would have.
Yes.
Would it be possible in the Q&A which vendors you have tested successfully in particular access PAT system?
No,
I think we had said, oh.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that, didn't we discuss it, that if anybody had a question about their vendor, we could probably let them know which vendors have tested. If your vendor's not on that list, you should probably reach out to them and ask them to please test with IQVIA. Is that right, Melanie?
Yes, I would recommend doing that. I am trying to look through my email to see where I received email confirmations of which vendors, so I could post that information, but I'm not finding it at the moment, but we can follow up. But we do encourage you, if you're able to, just reach out to your vendors and just ask them if they're able to supply test files and get that to STS, and we could go ahead and add them. If we don't already have them, we can go ahead and add their files to our repository for testing.
Great, thank you. Are you going to test each vendor for file uploading before go live? It sounds like you've not tested each vendor at this point.
We're in the process of testing the vendor files. All vendors have not sent us files. So we're relying on getting information via if STS passes us the files, or the files that have been provided by DCRI. But from what I can tell, I think we do have some that we do not have. And again, we can continue to either reach out to those vendors, or we could continue working with DCRI so that they can also provide files. So we're working all aspects of making sure that we get all representative vendors.
Now, if a vendor hasn't been tested, Melanie, what happens when a site goes to upload their file and their vendor has not been tested yet?
Well, we would hope that they're following the data specs. We're following the exact data specs as per each data version. So if there is something that is completely off and they're not following the specs, and I'm thinking that that's not the case because they have gone through certification, right? So at this point, the file should pass because we're following the same data specification.
That's right. And if there was a problem, then you would reach out to the vendors and check with them if for some reason that file had issues. Great. Okay.
Correct.
Next, thank you. With all the changes, it would be nice if the deadline was the third week of February. The reason why we can't have it the third week of February is probably related to the MIPS reporting and giving IQVIA enough time to get, this is the first time IQVIA will be reporting to MIPS for us. So it takes a little bit of programming and things, and this is to give them a little bit extra time to get that file into MIPS by the end of March. Next question, why will the dashboard not be available if you submit data directly to IQVIA and not use the third-party vendor? That's an incorrect statement. The dashboard will be available to all users, no matter how you submit your data to IQVIA. The new data collection form will be available in the next few weeks. It'll be posted right above version 2.9 and listed as version 4.20. Could you please clarify what the Click Dimensions mail.clickdimensions.com is for? Click Dimensions is a third-party emailing system that STS uses, and we have had issues in the past where the mail has come from this domain and it was blocked by sites. So it's a third-party emailing system that STS uses for some of their emails. Next question, can only one person at a site harvest or submit data? We have multiple abstractors can they upload their harvest individually? Melanie, did you want to take that one?
So it says, can only one person at a site harvest or submit data? That's really your decision in regards to if you want to only have one person. You can have multiple, so going to the second. Can they upload their harvest individually? They can. So both is a yes, I guess, in regards to the response.
Next question. I noticed that the submission deadline is usually after 30 days, and that gives us time to complete our 30-day status. If we will be tracking 90 days post-op for deep sternal wound that will run into the next harvest period moving forward, is this going to affect submission deadlines? No, you'll just need to update that on your data collection form and resubmit those cases with your current harvest. Next question. If we uploaded updates, changes of cases till 12/31 after February 14th, end of harvest date, will these updates be included for star ratings on April 20th? So the data, the cases, the procedure dates through 12/31 of 2019, you will submit after the go live or with the start of go live with IQBIA in January. You have up to February probably 5 p.m. on February 14th. I don't know if we picked a time yet, or if it's just going to be a date stamp for any file that's submitted on February 14th. Any data that's submitted through that time will then be included in the Harvest 1 2020 Star Rating Report, which comes out the end of April. Risk models and star ratings
It's probably the end of day, Carol. I'm sorry to cut you. I'm just saying in regards to making sure. End of the, so I would say most likely it would probably run until midnight, right? To allow West Coast, the different time zones, be able to submit.
Thanks. So next statement, risk models and star ratings are different. That's right, risk models are risk models, but the star ratings use the risk models for reporting. All of the star ratings are risk adjusted. Are all of the webinar QAs available online? I seem to be missing some of the answers to these good questions. So these will all be posted online for you to see. We are not going to type out these questions because they're recorded, so you'll have them in the recording. Next question will there be a summary of case submissions on the dashboard so we are able to confirm the number of cases by procedure match that we have at our organization?
Yes, there is on the dashboard, there is a total number of cases that, depending on the time frame that you select, it will calculate the total number of cases so you're able to reconcile and compare.
Okay, thank you. Again, a couple of questions are coming through that says there is no additional cost to use direct input once it becomes available. That's correct. There will be no cost to use the direct data submission once it becomes available from IQVIA. Can you provide us with all forms and data that we have to provide to our IT department in one link so we do not miss any? So this information for the this information here is available on the slides, and it's available in the STS News. The dossier, if you need it, has to be requested. We cannot provide a link to it because that contains sensitive information from IQVIA. Is the new version 2.81 something that needs to be purchased and installed prior to uploading to IQVIA? Where will we find this new version to implement? I'm not sure of your question, Christy. The new version of the data collection form that's coming out is 4.20. That will go live in July. That's an update from the current version, which is 2.9. You'll still use your vendor software to submit to IQVIA. Next question. With the change to 90 days for sternal infections, this information will not be available at submission deadline. How will this be handled? As I said, you'll just need to go back and update that and resubmit those cases in the upcoming harvest. Next question. Will backup data contacts have the ability to access the STS report star report online? Yes. I believe anybody who has access to the reporting feature will have access to the STS reports and star reporting online. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And that is one of the features that backup data contacts will have in their role.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Next question, will the final report for calendar year 2019 be in the same format as the old reports? So that report is the report that will be IQVIA's first report that they do for us, and we will not have, the PDF reports are going away. They will be reported in the dashboard, and you'll be able to download into Excel files. Melanie and her team at IQVIA are going to work on how-to videos on how to do that, and those will be posted online. Is it possible for us to receive test emails from the whitelist emails to ensure that we are receiving them? Yes, you can send stsdb@sts.org an email, and we will pass that over to IQVIA, and we can test it here with our IT team to make sure you're receiving those emails and they're whitelisted correctly. Again, more than one data manager will be able to have access to the dashboard and the reports. The vendor list that has tested with IQVIA is not available, but we'll get that out. If not
yes, we'll work on that.
This webinar, we'll post it along with this webinar. This is extremely confusing. Pat, if you're extremely confused, please reach out to me and let me know what your questions are. I would first review all of the webinars. We try to make this as easy as possible, and we're answering questions as much as possible. I think it's confusing if you haven't used it, as most of all of the data managers, I think, are intuitive, and they also like to do hands-on. So when you get going with this in January, I think it'll become a little bit more clear as you're working with the dashboard and reporting, looking along with those how-to videos. And obviously change is never easy for anybody. So we hope to help you through this process. And if you have exact or questions that you are thinking of, reach out to us and we'll answer them. I have asked Lumetics if they have tested, and I did not get a clear answer. And then, so will Lumetics send files to IQVIA, and IQVIA will send it to STS? So the way the data flow is that IQVIA, you will download your Lumetics file, or if Lumetics does the submitting for you, they will send that file over to IQVIA. At the end of the harvest, which Harvest 1 2020 is February 14th, that whatever file was submitted during that time, up to that date, through that date, will then be sent over to DCRI. DCRI will continue doing the analytics on that file. OMG, it is not our responsibility to get our vendor to be tested. No, you're absolutely right. It's your vendor's responsibility to be tested, but you are paying your vendor. So if you want to reach out to them to see if they've been tested, I think that's a good idea. If not, I hope that your vendor does reach out to us and gets tested. We have had multiple vendor meetings, both at AQO and live. So we've been working with the vendors. They're well aware of the transition. So it will post a list, and if your vendor didn't get tested, that really is their responsibility. And that's why you pay them. The next question is, you indicated to update the contact information now. Where do we find the update contact form? And is this web-based like the current form, or is it paper? Will the instruction going to be posted? Who do we submit this information to? You will update this on the current participant contact web-based form that we currently use. Can you please give each database its own harvest deadline? It is helpful to not have two databases close on the same date for those of us managing multiple databases. I certainly understand that, and we will try to do this better in the future with the shortened time frame of 6 weeks for IQVIA, with the Go Live with IQVIA and MIPS reporting both for adult and general thoracic being the end of March. We had to use the same deadline for this time around. When I do my first harvest submission to IQVIA in February, do I need to submit just a year's worth of data, or do I have to submit 3 years worth of past data? You can probably start submitting in January when it opens up, and we'll send you more information on that. You would probably, I would suggest submitting a year's worth of data. IQVIA will have your past submissions from DCRI. So after your submission in November 22nd of this past year of 2019, that data will be sent over to IQVIA for them to hold it over there. So it looks like we're about at time. It's quarter after the hour. So we're going to wrap this up here. I just want to thank everybody for joining. There's 13 questions left in the queue. If there are questions that are related to the presentation and things that haven't been answered yet, we will answer them and PDF them along with the slides. And again, I thank you all for joining. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll help you get through this together however we can. And thank you, Melanie and IQVIA team, for being on the line and being great partners in this pursuit of a better database and getting us up to speed with the 20th century.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Take care, everybody. Bye.